Good evening and welcome to the regular Board of Aldermen meeting at the Salado Municipal Building, 301 North Stagecoach Road in Salado, Texas. The date is July 3rd, 2025, and it is 6:30 p.m. Mr. De La Rosa, please call the roll.
Mayor, all members are present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. As we begin this Board of Aldermen meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on our shared commitment to serve the diverse community of the Village of Salado. We invite all present, regardless of faith, belief, or philosophy, to join us in a spirit of unity, respect, and compassion. May our deliberations be guided by wisdom, our decisions rooted in fairness, and our actions driven by the common good. Whether you find inspiration in a higher power, the bonds of humanity, or the wonders of nature, let us work together to build a culture where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Let's take a moment, please. Thank you. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Thank you. Item 1, public comments. The Board of Aldermen welcomes comments from citizens on issues and items of concern not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak must sign in before the meeting begins and observe a 5-minute time limit when addressing the board. The speakers will have one opportunity to speak during this time period. Speakers desiring to speak on an agenda item will be allowed to speak when the agenda item is called. Inquiries about matters not listed on the agenda will either be directed to staff or placed on a future agenda for Alderman consideration. First up, we got Mr. David Seward. As you approach the podium, please state your name and address for the record, please.
David Seward, 1216 Mill Creek Drive, Salado, Texas. Mayor, aldermen, city staff, and citizens, I'm the chairman of the Salado Music Friendly Community Advisory Board. And at last month's meeting, they tasked me with coming up here at least once a month and updating you all on our activities. So I'll just take a couple minutes to do that quickly. This week, we hosted the Texas Music Office, our in-person regional meeting. Our region extends from Waco all the way down to San Marcos. So we had lots of municipalities represented here in Salado. We also had 3/4 of the office of the Texas Music staff of the Texas Music Office here. They talked about the Music Incubator Rebate Program, where live music venues can get up to $100,000 worth of their sales tax money, alcohol sales tax money refunded back. The state budget's about $10 million each year to do that. So we'll be educating our local venues on how they'll be able to start applying for that in September to get some money back. Recently, through Deanna Whitson at Tourism, I was able to speak to, she set up a roundtable discussion with hotel, motel, and Airbnb owners. And our efforts there are, we're attempting to track how many people live music actually brings to Salado. It has a huge economic impact on the state, but we want to be able to come to you guys and let you know how many people we do bring. We continue to have our monthly meetings. They're hosted at Impresario Winery. You guys, anyone is welcome to attend. And finally, I think I was hoping to be able to announce a fall festival. We're still working on a location, but maybe next month I'll be able to announce plans with that. But we're here if at any time we can serve you guys better. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Bill Kinnison.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm Bill Kennison, 1216 Salado Oaks Drive, Salado, Texas. I'm speaking on behalf of the Salado Historical Society today because we're disappointed in your decision not to fund the Historical Society's maps. They were funded in December for $350. We got $500. We turned these over to the tourism office, and they're getting low on them. That's why I'm speaking about them today, because they have asked me if they could have some more. Well, that's going to be up to the Board of Aldermen as to whether they get more. What I'd like to do is give you a copy of the email that I got concerning our request. Is that all right for me to? Okay. And I'm also going to give you the pamphlet that we're talking about. Okay. Thank you. All right. That email that I gave you came from Gina Pence, and we've spoken together, and she's attended one of our meetings, and we're working on having a trolley tour of Salado. Sounds interesting. We'd be glad to help on that any way we can. I wanted to point out on that little pamphlet I gave you, that's 2 maps. One of them is all of Salado's historic sites. That's the larger map. And the other map is one that is a map of Main Street. Because tourism some time ago mentioned that people come to Salado and they want a short tour. So we came up with a short tour. It's self-guided, goes up Main Street, and identifies all the historic sites on either side of the street. So that's the smaller map. And of course, the larger one has all of the historical sites, or most of them. We can't get them all on one map because some of the historic sites in Salado are in the cemetery. About 10 markers in the cemetery, so we didn't put it on here. But I'd like to point out to you that this little map also has the Salado logo on it and the tourism's QR code. So we did coordinate this with tourism, and this is what they came up with. Now, we update these when we can. We have 2 more sites that we're going to eventually be adding to our map. They have been researched. We're in the process of getting the plaques, the actual markers, prepared so we can, we'll put them up. Now, concerning the email that we got, it says the Village of Salado is unable to approve funding for the printing of brochures, as doing so for one organization would require us to extend the same support to all others. That's okay with me. But I think for what we're asking for is either 500 or 1,000 of these maps to be printed, and the cost is $350 or $550 for 1,000. When we initially had this pamphlet printed, we had 2 costs on them, one for 500, one for 1,000, and the village chose the 500. Now, these are not for the Historical Society because I don't keep these. I give them to the tourism. This is for tourism. So that's my plea, is do it for tourism. We just happen to be the instrument that produced this thing. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other public comment? Nope. All right, moving on. Item 2, consent agenda. A, approval of the minutes of June 5th, 2025 Board of Aldermen meeting. B is ratify approval authorizing the mayor to execute a master agreement with DDI Capital, a technology leasing company, for a server. And C, ratify approval authorizing the mayor to execute an encroachment agreement between the Village of Salado and Brian K. Glenn and Katrina E. Glenn. Mr. Del Rosa, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, sir, do not.
Alderman Sandor? Alderman Lassiter? No. Mayor Pro Tem Hurst? No. Alderman Dunch? No. Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, if there are no questions, I will open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve consent agenda as written.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to present as written. Second. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. Any further discussion? Question. Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions?
Mayor, did you ask for public comment?
No, but I can now. Any public comments on the consent agenda? Huh? Well, I guess yeah. All right, next item 3, discuss and consider possible action regarding any item removed from the consent agenda. There are none. 4, village administrator's report. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, there's no PowerPoint presentation for your sales tax collection, but for the month of April, at least the sales tax, it's represent the April sales collected in May and allocated in June. And for June 2025, it was $81,575. Okay, June of 2024 was $67,000. So $13,000 increase, and the year part of that was $61,000. So $20,000 from 2 years ago, more in 1 month. So, any questions on sales tax allocation? None.
Questions? Yep.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. The presentation of the proposed amending budget for fiscal year 2025. It is in here. It's a draft. It is balanced. You can certainly ask any questions. It's also on the budget workshop section of next week's meeting. So what I wanted to do was kind of get it out in front of the public, get it in front of you, so it is in your agenda. So you can certainly ask questions, but if I don't know what you're asking and I need to go look for it, rather than take up a lot of your time, I'm going to ask you to, I'll have to follow up with you. I would prefer that I receive questions ahead of time so I can prepare myself and we can keep the meetings moving forward. Okay? Unless there's any questions there. The financial reports, it was the April 2025 were presented to you. The practice is acceptance, acknowledged, presentation. Actually, the balance sheets and the P&L sheets and the check listings are nothing more than what the business is from day one of the start of the fiscal year through the end of that month. It is the reports. There's no meat in it. There's not a lot of details. They're balance sheets. So I've done this in other places where I just present them to you. You can ask any questions you might have. If I need to research and get back to you, I will. But it doesn't require your acceptance, your approval, your vote of any kind. My job is to present it to you. So I've got April in here, and I've got May of 2025. So let's take them both. Tell me if you have any questions, anything you'd like for me to look up, or that I can address right off the cuff.
Alderman Sandor. Alderman Lassiter.
You asked a question Yeah, draft budget. We got this essentially, what, last Friday? Not Monday? Did we get this Monday?
You got it on Monday, yes, sir.
Monday, yeah. I haven't had time, I don't know about these gentlemen, to be able to ask you questions tonight about it, but I do intend to ask you questions about it. Some of the questions will forthcome as a result of questions you answer, at that time. We're not going to sit here tonight and go through a lot of those questions. That's not the purpose, I think, tonight. But in the workshop, I just want to comment that there are going to be questions that come up as a result of a lot of answers that are given. So to say that all of those questions can be asked in front of that particular session, I hope you're not expecting that.
No, sir, no.
Okay.
So
Let me clarify something. We're not discussing the draft budget tonight. That's not what this is. This is the financials for April and May. This is not a draft budget.
Well, he just said on item B, it was a draft budget that he presented to us. And won't we be doing that on the 10th of July?
No, yeah, we are talking about that, but he was asking about questions about the financials. But he was explaining that this is just a P&L.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Go ahead.
But do we carry those items individually, A, B, C, or was I out of order by not bringing that
No,
up
I was
after
just
B?
clarifying, because I
Okay.
thought we were talking about the financials for here, but go ahead.
No, I understand that.
Okay. Nope.
No questions at this time.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Do you want to, Ms. Del Rosa, do you have anything you want to add to that about the budget discussions that are going to start next week?
yes, sir. In the July 10th meeting, that meeting invite, I attached a PDF. It is the budget calendar. So I have it in front of me. So you're looking to have a budget workshop specifically on July 10th, July 24th, July 31st. So, and on Thursday, August 7th, the mayor will be presenting the proposed budget for the next fiscal year. So we're on a timeline. So and then it's got some other dates. We've got to publish the notice hearing for the proposed tax rate and the proposed budget. Must come out on Thursday, August 14th or August 15th, that Friday. That means it's our calendar that tells us that at the start of that week, we need to make sure that we submitted that notice for publication. Public hearing on the proposed budget, most likely on Thursday, August 28th. And we could adopt the budget that evening or move it to September the 4th. So if not, September 18th, we'll adopt the tax rate. That way on September 19th, we can notify Bell County Presidential District of the approved tax rate. So that is, so everybody can hear of this budget calendar. And it's in your meeting invite, so you have it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Nothing.
Oh, all right, 5 is staff reports. A, presentation of the police department monthly report.
Yeah, I didn't say.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Alderman. This was actually going to be last meeting, but we didn't make it happen. For the month of May, we had 600 calls for service. That's down actually 18 from the previous month. That comes out to 19.3 calls for service per day. For the benefit of the new aldermen, our calls for service is broken down into 4 categories: priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. For reference, 911 calls, emergency calls are priority 1. In progress calls, disturbances in progress, fights, things like that are priority 2 calls. Not in progress calls are priority 3. That would be something like burglary of a motor vehicle that's already occurred, subject's already departed the scene. And then priority 4 calls for service are what we refer to as SIFA, or report-only calls. Those are self-initiated field activity. That's things officers get out and do without being prompted from dispatch. So you can see there we had 32 priority 1 calls, 199 priority 2 calls, 167 priority 3 calls, and 202 priority 4 calls for service. There were 2 arrests made. 108 traffic stops were conducted, 65 citations were issued, 63 warnings were issued. That comes out to an enforcement rate of 60.18%. That is up a little bit from April's enforcement rate, which was 51.72%. We completed 12 incident reports. Along with those incident reports, we completed 104 supplement reports. I know that kind of looks offset a little bit, but when you think about it, back in 2021, the chief of police at the time, Pat Boone, signed an agreement to go to a new report management system, Niche. So we're in the process of transferring that over. So when we have to transfer that over, every bit of evidence that's in our evidence room has to be entered into Niche, and each one of those has to have a supplement report attached to it. So with that being said, that's why that 104 supplements is quite high this month. And then nobody appeared before the grand jury. Just some notable calls for service. We were dispatched. Actually, this was not a dispatch call. This is officer was on patrol at 2:15 in the morning, observed what appeared to be a suspicious vehicle parked behind a business in the 100 block of Main Street. Made contact with the driver, who was passed out in the driver's seat. During the course of that conversation, roadside interview, the driver gave consent to search the vehicle, at which time the officer located a green in color leafy substance. The passenger or the driver of the vehicle identified it as a cannabidiol, which is commonly referred to as spice. It's a Schedule 2A controlled substance. The item was field tested. We received a presumptive positive on it. That individual was arrested for a Class B misdemeanor, transported to Bell County Jail, and those substances were sent to the DPS crime lab in Waco for positive confirmation. We were also dispatched to a suspicious vehicle on 2843. Upon contact with the vehicle, the officer found the driver passed out in the driver's seat. There was an open bottle of vodka sitting on the passenger seat. Driver was asked to exit the vehicle during the field sobriety test. Officer observed enough probable cause to make an arrest for driving while intoxicated. Pre-impoundment inventory of the vehicle was conducted just to make sure that we document any high-value items, things like that in the vehicle. During that pre-impoundment inventory, a bottle of hydrocodone was found. The prescription was filled earlier in the month. It was supposed to have 120 pills in the bottle, and it had several. I believe the exact number was 2 or 3. So not only was the individual driving under the influence of alcohol, more than likely was driving under the influence of hydrocodone as well. And one of our last notable calls for service, officers were dispatched to a disturbance in progress in the 1800 block of Chisholm Trail. Prior to the officer's arrival, both parties voluntarily separated. Disturbance between a husband and a wife. Both parties voluntarily separated. Officers made contact with both parties. There was no violence. There was an information report generated on that. Our response times for the month of May, again, if you remember the priority calls for service, the priority reasons, the only number that we as the police have control over is I believe it's the 4th line there, 5th line there, the en route to arrival time. That's the time that it takes dispatch to tell us that we have an offense in our city to the time it takes us to get there, and those are in seconds. So you'll see 252 seconds for priority 1 calls for service. That's 4 minutes and 12 seconds. So when we get a priority 1 call for service, 911 emergency, it's taking an officer approximately 4 minutes and 12 seconds to get there. Same with priority 2. Priority 2 was 6 minutes and 11 seconds. Priority 3 was 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And priority 4 is negligible because the majority of, like I said, those are self-initiated field activity by the officer. So whenever they call out on traffic, they're already on traffic. When they call out on a house watch, they're already on a house watch. Speaking of house watches, we conducted 63 house watches in the month of May. Just some notable news. All Texas peace officers are governed by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, TCOL. And they conducted a surprise inspection of the Salado Police Department. They inspected our personnel files, our training files, and our disciplinary files. And I'm happy to report that there were 0 discrepancies noted during that inspection. As you know by now, Officer Gatewood has resigned from the Salado Police Department. He has accepted a position with the Bell County District Attorney's Office. It's actually right up his alley. He was one of my detectives when I was in Belton, so I wish him well. He served us honorably. He served us well. He served the citizens good. He's welcome to come back anytime he would like. I don't know if that's going to be a priority for him. He's got a good gig up there. We also had several trainings that occurred. Officer Blakemore and Officer Manning completed the intermediate crime scene course. For those of you who don't know, we have 4 levels of peace officer certification: basic, intermediate, advanced, and master. So they completed the intermediate crime scene course. Officer Blakemore also completed ALERT, which is the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training. That is training for active shooters. That training was conducted by the Texas State University. We got to send Sergeant Dunchie to Glock Armor training course. I thought that was very important because prior to that particular incident, if something happened to our firearms, we would have to take that firearm out of service, send it down to GT Distributors in Austin, and have them repair it. But now I have a Glock Armor in course. I have a Glock Armor in-house that can make those repairs and corrections as needed. Any questions on that particular portion of the report?
Alderman Sandor.
Thank you. Thank you. He's in charge of our investigations, right? That we have ongoing. You're in charge of it, okay. And how many officers do we have?
We have 7.
Have 7, counting his departure.
Correct.
Okay. Did you know approximately how much money that would be as a cost reduction in the police department, approximately, or do you?
I can't give you an exact figure. I can tell you that
approximately
the annual salary for an officer is $58,000 plus fringe benefits. Those fringe benefits vary based on which insurance company is, but he worked half the year, so I would estimate it at about $45,000.
Okay, but the position was paying 58 plus a few fringe benefits.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I had on that matter. Thank you.
Alderman Sandor. Mayor Pro Tem Hurst.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I thought I was only on that provision. I had a couple more questions.
Oh, you can, this is ask anything on his report.
Oh, I still haven't covered the other 2 portions.
Oh, yeah, I'll wait until then.
What other 2 portions?
Next bullet point.
Yeah, that's item B. Are you finished with item A? No more questions about that?
Wait a minute, let me find item A. What was item A on this? Is item A, I can't find it on my sheet.
The report that he just gave.
Monthly report. Oh, no, I have some on the following. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Dutch.
Just one question. So you indicated you're taking over the investigations, but I'm understanding, is that new, or what cases were transferred over? You taking over his workload?
I'm taking over overseeing the cases.
Yeah.
The particular case that you're probably speaking about is being taken over by Sergeant Dunchie.
Okay. Good.
Alderman McDonald.
No questions. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Item B.
Talk about vehicles. At the beginning of the fiscal year, we had 8 officers. We're down. We also had 8 vehicles. With that being said, we've got a couple of vehicles that are beyond their service life. Unit 6 is a 2011 Ford F-150. It is not a police package vehicle. It is a civilian XL model. It has 155,000 miles, 15 years old. You can see the laundry list of deficiencies that it has there. The repair costs for those deficiencies are about $4,500, and the estimate, just from my experience in auctioning vehicles, the truck is probably worth about $1,500. So it's about time for that one to leave the fleet. Unit number 9 is a 2018 Ford F-150. It is also not a police package vehicle. It is an XL pickup truck. It's 7 years old. During the recent storms that we had, We had some debris in the roadway. Officer struck the debris, causing damage to the oil cooler line. To have that repaired, you're looking at approximately $250 if we don't have transmission damage also. Sergeant Dunshee is an ASC certified mechanic. He's taken a look at it. He doesn't believe that there's going to be any transmission damage in and of itself, just to the transmission cooler. So to get that repaired would be $250, around $250. Unit 10, 2020 Chevy Tahoe, that is a police package vehicle. It does have extensive hail damage. We have started doing a lot more of our own maintenance prior to certain budgetary situations. We were going to Don Ringler to have our oil changes done, tires rotated, things like that. We're doing those ourselves now since I have a mechanic on staff. And when he did the last oil change and tire rotation, he noticed that the control arm bushings are probably going to need to be replaced soon. Now, that's not a deadline item right now. That's not going to put the vehicle out of service right now, but it's just something we're going to have to plan on and consider in the near future, 4 to 6 months. We have another one. Unit 11 is a 2020 Tahoe. It is a police package vehicle. With the exception of the extensive hail damage, it's in top working condition. We have two 2022 Dodge Durangos, Unit 12 and Unit 13. Unit 12 has 33,000 miles, Unit 13 has 16,000 miles, and I know you're thinking, well, if we got two 2022s, why does one have double the miles the other one does? Well, we got Unit 12 about 4 months before we got Unit 13, so that was actually placed into service quite a bit earlier. And Unit 12 is also driven by Officer Oster, who is also our evidence custodian, who every time we make an arrest for a controlled substance has to drive to Waco to take it to the DPS crime lab. So there's a few more miles added on there on that one. Unit 21 is a police package Tahoe. The only discrepancy on it is it does not have a police radar in it, excuse me, a police radio or a police radar in it. Unit 24, the 2024, or pardon me, Unit 15, the 2024 Chevy Silverado is a police packaged vehicle, and it has the same discrepancies, no in-car police radio and no radar. I will remind the board that we did qualify for a grant, and that's what I planned on using, the $12,629, I believe it is, through SITCOG to purchase 2 in-car radios and 2 handheld radios. The fleet that we have, the radios that we have in our fleets are end of life. When I say they're end of life, the manufacturer doesn't make them anymore. The manufacturer doesn't make parts for them anymore. The last time one of our radios broke, we had to get onto eBay and order a used part on eBay and hope it worked. So it's getting to be about that time for officer safety purposes that we're going to have to start looking at replacing some of these radios, and that was one of the main reasons that I applied for that grant through SITCOG. Are there any questions on the vehicles? We went through the office of the governor, applied for the grant. It goes through their channels down in Austin. They approved it down in Austin. It was sent to SITCOG, Central Texas Council of Governments. They have a board, a panel of members. Everybody who's seeking grants in the 7-county region will go before that board, present their issues. There's limited funding. There's always more grant wishes than there are grants that can be handed out. But I am happy to say that we presented this before SITCOG and we got fully funded on the grant.
All right. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. Oh, you got more? Go ahead.
I'm slow, all through the field, and I gotta understand all this stuff. Of course, I don't really get to talk to you about it, and so I won't have this many questions to ask in the future, I'm sure, but it helps me kind of come up to speed on where we are. This is a good report, by the way, on the condition and the property investment we have for as far as vehicles go. And before I forget about it, I want to thank SITCOG for the $12,000 grant. So we have 7 officers. We effectively have 6 operating vehicles and 1 on life support. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you know how many of those are paid off?
Yes, sir, I do. We actually only owe on 3 of the
That's
vehicles.
what I thought. Okay.
We owe on the 2 2022 Dodge Durangos and the 2024 Chevy Silverado.
Okay.
All other vehicles are paid off.
Okay. And the last question, let's see, that I have is a general question for you in terms of your satisfaction level with respect to the assets you have to perform your job, and that for all the other officers we have.
I can tell you that we do what we have. We do what we can with what we have. Are we the best equipped agency in the nation or even in the region? No, we're not. Do we have some equipment deficiencies? Yes, we do. But is it going to stop us from doing our job? No, it's not. And I like to point out, we got several vehicles here that I mentioned that we don't have radars in them. We have a handheld LiDAR, which is supremely accurate. I don't know if you guys know anything about LiDAR. Supremely accurate. So with that being said, we have the tools to take care of things. Some of them are just getting a little old.
Do you make a capital request every year to the Board of Aldermen with respect to your needs?
When I identify something that we do need, yes, I do. Matter of fact, I believe it was last year, I made a request that we not only did we purchase cash for a vehicle, that we also financed the vehicle as well. So I did that because I knew that the other 2 vehicles, Unit 9 and Unit 6, were probably not going to last much longer. You start looking at maintenance costs. When the maintenance cost to keep a vehicle is going to cost more than the vehicle is worth, it's time to move on and find another mode of transportation, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time and your service, and I would hope that any time you feel like you're putting any of your officers in danger with respect to a lack of equipment, I certainly hope you'll let us know before we get to that point. Absolutely. And let the mayor know, and let's talk about it so we can take good care of them, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I am finished.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. Alderman Dutch.
Just one. Of all the ones that have hail damage, are there insurance for that to get those repaired?
I can tell you that when I got here 2 years ago, some of the vehicles had hail damage on them. We've had hail damage since then.
Yeah.
Claims have been filed, and I can tell you that claims have been filed.
Okay.
I can't speak intelligently about what happened after the claims have been filed.
That's it. Thank you.
Alderman McDonald.
Thank you for your report, Chief.
All right. Item C, briefing on government lease purchase agreement number 3609C on a police fleet vehicle being a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 4-wheel drive.
I can tell you that I'm retired from Belton. When I was in Belton the last several years, probably the last 4 or 5 years, I was in charge of fleet management. This lease agreement thing was new to me when I got here, so I dove into it. This is the lease agreement that we made with ANLC, American National Leasing Corporation. The original price of the Chevy Silverado was $53,280, which is actually a discounted price, government price for that type of vehicle. The upfitting on it, which are the lights, sirens, things like that, the prisoner transport partitions, it was $22,528. There was a $150 documentation fee, so the total price of that truck was $75,958. At the time, I presented 3 options, those options being a 3-year, 4-year, or 5-year lease agreement. The board chose the 3-year agreement, so we owe 3 payments of $28,680. The first payment coming, I believe, in 2025. Yes, 2025, and lasting through 2027. That was at a 6.5% interest. It comes out to $86,040 for the price of that vehicle with labor upfitting and everything. And then there's a clause in this purchase agreement that at the end, after the third payment, we have to make a decision. Let me rephrase that. You guys have to make a decision. The aldermen have to make a decision whether or not we're going to keep the truck or we're going to send it back to be traded back in. And if we keep it, it costs us $1. So,
Think about that.
Historically speaking, I can tell you from just my personal experience, if we get vehicles that have 2 and 3 and 4 drivers in them, those vehicles usually last about 3 to 4 years. So that's about the time that you would send that back, get your trade in, use that towards your next lease. If we got vehicles that are driven by one officer, usually one officer, those vehicles usually last between 7 and 10 years. Just because they're lower mileage, they don't have as much wear and tear on them. So at that particular point, that $1 lease option looks really good. Pay you that one extra dollar and keep that car for another 6 years.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Sandor. Alderman Lassiter. Mayor Pro Tem Hurst.
No questions.
Alderman Dunn.
No questions.
Alderman McDonald.
No further questions. Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you. D, presentation of the Convention and Visitors Bureau monthly report. Ms. Whitson.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman.
Good evening.
Oh, sorry. All right. So in regards to our report tonight, basically we just have our metrics that from our website that we currently use. Then we keep our weekly maintenance going. Currently we have a Dino George next Saturday. We'll be here at the Salado Museum. It'll be a kickoff for their kids history camp that they're going to have that week. Gina, Miss Pence has, she is connected with Dino George through her previous employment and has a good rapport with him, and she was able to get the village a grant, no cost, to have him come and be presented here at the museum, and so we're going to use that as the kickoff for the museum. So we encourage anybody and everybody to come and bring the kids or grandbabies, or if you just are like dinosaurs, come and see the exhibit on Saturday the 12th. It'll be from 10 to 4. And then our tourism friendly designation, all of that is put together. At the end of it, it was a final assessment. It's been completed. You have to get letters for that. They require 3 letters, and one is from Brad Buckley, a state representative. Then I also have one from our tourism friendly, and then I asked our hotel industries, and I am just waiting for one more to come in. We'll have total of 7 out of the 3 letters that are required. Wonderful letters, very sweet letters. So that'll be very exciting to, once I get that final one, and I promised that person I would wait until I got it. And then we'll send it off, and then after that, they'll give us the final interview for us to be able to get our certification. So we're on board, on track for that. As far as our billboard goes, that will come July the 28th. I think you guys have seen the presentation for that for August and for the fall season and have approved that. The trolley program is up and running. And then during the visitor center, we've given 74 bags, 24 to the Sun City group and 50 to the Pi Delta UT Arlington. That group has come every year to the Stagecoach Inn for 46 years. And then Facebook, we continue to do well with our Facebook and social media, and that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Alderman Sandor. Alderman Lassiter.
I'm looking at your report here, and I just go down to the bottom line where it talks about ROIs. I don't know about anybody else in this room, but I don't need to know what the ROI is on a $3 bag of goodies. I really don't. We had that last time we were here. The consequence of that relative to the other things we're dealing with is minuscule. I don't know where that came from. I don't think it did you, but to me it's insulting to sit here and have to represent an ROI on $3 goodie bags totaling maybe $200 or $300. And I hope that this isn't something we need to continue to do. If we're going to talk about ROIs, let's make it objective and on real measurements of value. But this is a subjective issue here, and it's one that we've got much bigger things to do with our marketing budget for the town and through our marketing dollars than what we've used and where we are with respect to that. And I just don't see any real purpose in driving home the importance of an ROI on something this small. And I say that to Mr. De La Rosa, and I say that to Gina, and I say that to you.
Yes, sir.
This is just not where our minds need to be at this level. Second thing, the little package on that Mr. Kennison was talking about.
Oh, yes, sir.
You didn't make that decision?
No, sir,
correct?
that's not my decision, no, sir. That was...
Who made that decision, if I may ask, Mayor?
The email's right there.
Yeah. Is that actually, Gina, is that your decision?
That's a Mr. Dell.
Okay, yours and his. I don't understand when we're talking about the foundation of this community, the history of this community in 150 years.
Okay,
Mr.
hold
Mayor,
on.
we're
That's
getting
not
off
the agenda
topic.
item. That's not the agenda item, and we're not gonna address that right now. So if you have questions about what she presented, we can address that.
Well, let me ask you then, when are we?
You can stop in at any time, speak to Mr. De La Rosa, or you can go visit Ms. Whitson and have that conversation.
No, I want people to hear.
This
So
is
may
not
I
on
put
the
it on
agenda
an
item.
agenda?
This is not on the agenda item, and we're not discussing that. I'm not gonna violate state law sitting here.
Are you? Okay.
Thank you.
There's no intention to do that either, but I
We
do
can put it
think
on the
it's an
future
important
agenda.
issue, and I do want to see that it's put on
I
an
don't disagree, but we're not
upcoming
talking about
agenda.
that right now.
I want to note that for the record, that I do ask that that be placed on a future agenda. Thank you.
Alderman, or Mayor Pro Tem Hurst.
No question.
Alderman Dunch.
No questions.
Alderman McDonald.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Woodson.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
y'all.
Whitson.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any public comments on the chief's report or the tourism report? All right. 6, discussion and possible action on A, discussion and possible action for extending the Texas Municipal League Purchase Agreement number 10131 between the Village of Salado and Government Capital Corporation by 1 additional year and paying the interest only for 2025. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, the payment was due on April 14th of 2025. We did not receive an invoice. Came in about 6 weeks later, so we reached out to the finance company. But at the same time, we were already in discussions about what are we going to do about balancing our budget. So the current budget is balanced at only paying the $7,064.95, which is slightly higher than the $5,766 on the payment because it's already a little late. So the discussion is, when I notified you, which payment do you want to make? Do you want to make the payment of the $56,056 and whatever additional finance charges are, or do you just want to make the interest only? The budget that's been presented, at least for the amending budget, balances it. but you don't have 57,000. Either we cut more services. So, for example, we've already cut a lot of yard mowing, tree trimming, janitorial services. So it's about as slim as it can be. So my suggestion is that you make the interest-only payment, authorizes to do that, while we discuss the next fiscal year budget to see if we can afford these vehicles. We all want to have nice cars. We want to have better cars. We've got a fleet that we're paying the insurance that we don't drive. I see hail damage, and I've been here since January 1st, and I was here January 1st of 2024 when the hailstorms hit the southeast part of town, not City Hall, right? So I don't know where our cars were at, so I don't recall any hail damage since I've been here, but I've seen the damage to the vehicles. So I'll look into, if we were paid for hail damage or not, but we've got hail damage at least on the 2 Durangos that we're still paying a lease on that we may or may not keep. So the question is, based on your current budget, do you want to pay the interest only, or do you want to make the payment that was required to be made here at the principal of $52,952.84 plus any additional late fees, since we're already in July?
All right, thank you, Alderman Sandor. No questions. Alderman Lassiter.
Like the recommendation of the city administrator as to what his belief is, or recommendation.
To pay the interest only, is my recommendation.
Say what? I didn't hear it.
So to pay the interest only, not pay the full payment, just the interest only.
Okay, thank you.
Which is $7,064.95 if it was paid today, which is what the Capital Corporation said. If we can get on the agenda July 3rd, so that means we will resolve this Monday or Tuesday of next week.
I have no further questions. I'm good.
No questions. Okay. Alderman Dunch.
No questions.
Alderman McDonald.
No further questions. Thank you, Mr. De La Rosa.
Thank you. Any public comments to this? Nope. All right, then I will open the floor for a motion, please.
I make a motion to make the interest-only payment for this year, and we can look at the rest of it for the following budget.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Hurst to follow Mr. De La Rosa's recommendation to pay the just the interest-only payment at this time.
I'll second.
Seconded by Alderman Dunch. Any further questions? Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving that we pay the interest only on this vehicle for the next year, specify by saying yes.
Yeah.
Any opposition, say no. Any abstentions? That carries 5-0. Mr. De La Rosa. B, discussion and possible action authorizing the village administrator to seek options on dissolving the Salado Municipal Court and the office of the municipal court judge and any related action on contracting services.
Okay, this is something I've been looking at since I first arrived. We have court on the first Tuesday of the month from about 3 to 5 p.m. We have a judge here and generally 1 to 2 prosecutors. I gave you the billings for municipal court legal services only for the prosecution. That isn't what they get paid for just being here those 2 hours. This is reviewing court cases. It's how we file cases is a little odd for me. Actually, the ticket writer generates the complaint rather than just create the summons. You come to court, enter a plea, and if it goes to trial, then you generate the complaint. Okay, I have the same conversation with the prosecutor and judge, and including some of the staff. The staff doesn't get to decide, but you're looking here at roughly, 2, 4, 6, $12,000 in 6 months, $2,000 a month, plus $800 a month to the judge. You saw the April citations, 65 citations. This court does not issue warrants of arrest. I can't tell you when they stopped issuing them, but they haven't done it in years. And only recently have we started looking at how to input them into into a program with DPS, so you don't get to renew your driver's license. But again, that's a long wait considering when your driver's license comes up for renewal. So I've had conversations with several, with the prosecutor and with the judge, differing as to why we do not issue warrants. There's no key in our ticket issuance. You are losing revenue streams from violators of ordinances or state laws. It is not managed well. So let me state something, and I mentioned it to the very first Board of Aldermen when I first came here, and now you're the second set. You've not had enough staff to manage these operations effectively. And based on this current rate that we're about to, the new tax rates, you're going to have less people likely. Your municipal court operations is losing you money. We've got to enforce the laws. We've got violators. We've got events in town, and people that are intoxicated get thrown on the street, and it takes their officers off the street when we only have one officer. Right? So let's get to citations, parking. The Sheriff's Department's not going to come around and do those kind of things for you if you were to dissolve your PD. And I'm not encouraging that. What I'm saying is you need to file your citation somewhere. We did have a conversation with the judge. Other cities contract services for local JPs or adjacent cities. It's a very common practice for small towns that can't afford the municipal court operations. So what I'm asking is for authorization to have those conversations with the powers of the county, whether it's the JP and most likely the county attorney's office, to prosecute those cases. Which is kind of something I even prefer because it takes it out of the local control, because therefore you've got a person that's actually not here at another facility and actually dispensing justice. Because what I see in fines, and I see the monthly reports we file, we collect for the state and we keep very little for ourselves. You might as well not even issue the citations. Unless it warrants to be arrested, we put them in the county jail. Because your municipal court citations are not generating anything. It's not supposed to pay for itself, but it certainly should produce something. Any questions for me?
And I want to add to that too, that with our prosecutor that comes from our law firm that is down in Austin. So from the time that she leaves the office headed this way, she's on the clock. And I don't know what her hourly rate is, but I've seen the numbers, and we are losing money on municipal court operations. Alderman Sandor, any questions?
I'm not sure I understand clearly. Have you made a recommendation in what you just gave us, Manny?
This is the recommendation that to authorize me,
yes,
to seek other options to manage our citations.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And you've spoken to Judge Coleman, and
he's aware of it. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, and he's aware of it, and he did not discourage it. He understood.
Okay. Alderman Lassiter.
Manny, y'all looking at other options? Excuse me, thank you for that. I don't mind Manny looking for other options out there. I think that's prudent to do. I also think it's prudent if we could ask our county commissioner also, since we're kind of throwing this back at the Bell County, and also I'd like to hear from Cliff Coleman whether we wish to ask him to come in for a meeting or I just pick up the phone and call him and ask him his thoughts. I'd certainly like to do that before I made a decision, but I don't see that it hurts anything to pursue other options in lieu of where we are right now. But I would like to hold to be able to visit either in public forum or one-on-one with our commissioner and Mr. Coleman. And that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurst,
No question.
Alderman Dunch.
Mr. De La Rosa, so a couple questions. One is, I'm not sure what the other alternatives, I think you were just saying you want it okay to explore other alternatives. Second of all, is there an analysis I would think that would exist? I'm assuming if one of the options, from what I'm understanding correctly, would to bring that in-house. We're constrained on resources, but like how many cases is the break even is kind of what helped me know the decision, because I don't know whether the cost would be more or less than this if we brought it in-house.
You know, municipal courts don't pay for themselves, obviously. It's supposed to be, you know, you're dispensing justice. But when we're looking at fines and we're remitting upwards of $5,000 to the state and we're keeping $1,000, which is the report I saw today, it's not very prudent for us. So years ago, probably about 15 years ago, cities could contract with adjacent cities for those type of services. Now, there's nothing wrong with issuing warnings. I've also worked with cities that city councils didn't allow and authorize police officers to issue warnings. If you stopped them, you wrote them, right? So if you saw the report, 65 citations and about 63 warnings, right? So those aren't police department's decisions. Those are city council decisions. Okay? But short of a policy, that's how you've been operating. But police officers don't get paid with monopoly money. It's real money, right? We try to at least provide them the best tools, best equipment, but it comes at a cost.
So what you just said there, so we, at this point, as part of my ignorance, if we don't have a policy, is it just that 65, 60, whatever the split is, a 40, whatever we decide, you got to watch you're not paying favoritism of who you get a citation or who you give a warning to too, I would assume. So
that's correct.
Consistency is going to be important. So we don't officially have a policy is what today?
I've not seen a policy that you've adopted. I just know that it exists.
Okay. Sounds like another agenda item. Yeah. Okay, thank you. No more questions.
And also, we would be kind of cautious too, that we shouldn't say, like, if we're going to say, no more warnings, like not put a percentage on it, then it becomes a quota, I guess for lack of a better term. So I think Alderman Dunch is along the right path there, but I would be careful to say.
Yeah, and I'm not recommending quotas, Mayor. What I'm recommending is that there are performance metrics to be made, and sometimes you give officers too much discretion, right? Everybody's got bosses, and we're all reined in.
Right.
But what the topic is, the municipal court, there is no real analysis to determine other than what you have today. On any given court day, there are 3 employees. So that only leaves Gina and I doing the regular work because everybody else is tied up along with the 2 prosecutors and the judge for generally, what would we get? Maybe 10, 15 people? 20? 10? For a 2-hour period. 3 employees, 2 prosecutors, and 1 judge. Right. You see, the numbers don't run that. Thank you.
Alderman McDonald?
No further questions, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any public comments on this item?
Linda Reynolds, 1110 Mill Creek Drive. I've never received a ticket in my life. I've never gone to court except I've been in juries. And in my mind, your job is to keep me safe in this town. I don't think the court has a thing to do with keeping me safe. I do know that I have a family member with a bit of a lead foot. And if that family member can't wheedle around with Judge Eagle King or Judge Coleman or call one of you, if she has to go to Bell County to court, I have a feeling the lead foot will be a little better off, and I'll be safer on the streets of Salado. Now, I don't mean to mention who it is, but I'm just saying. Well, her mind is a million miles away on other things often. Anyway, I need you guys to keep me safe. I don't need the court. I almost got a ticket once for driving too slowly, but there was a car reason for that, and I didn't get the ticket. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
She did, and it's on YouTube now. Any other public comments? No. All right. That was a good one. Then I will open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve 6 Bravo as written and give Mr. Del Rosa linear opportunity to look at other options.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to authorize the village administrator as presented to seek options on the municipal court. Seconded by Alderman Sandor. Any other further questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is just to seek other options, Mayor, not to cancel our current
Correct.
arrangements.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further question.
Okay. Any other questions?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving item B as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Carries 5-0, Mr. Del Rosa. Item C, update and possible action on Texas Department of Transportation project named OV Royal Street, Smith Branch Road, FM 2268. Mr. Del Rosa.
Okay, kind of bring up to speed with the Royal Street roadway improvements is a TxDOT project funded through the federal government. So the Killeen Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization is the funding source for this project. Behind the agenda item sheet, the cover page, there's an email from Ryan Nelson. He's the director of the KTMPO. That he, based on a meeting that some elected officials, along with myself, Ms. Pence, met with County Commissioner Bobby Whitson and Ryan Nelson and Jim Reed, the executive director of the Central Texas Council of Governments. The 2-hour conversation resulted in that we would try to secure, or recommend that we try to secure the $300,000 that we would need to kind of keep the project going, because the total cost, let me kind of tell you, if you go to the next page, you'll see attachment B, project budgets. Down at the bottom right-hand side of that table, you'll see that the local participation, that's you, $462,000, okay? If you go to the following page, you're going to see a spreadsheet that was compiled by our staff based on an email that followed us by Solomon Thomas, our PE with MRB Group. To complete the project at this, well, if you look at initial costs, engineering costs, that first column, $2,934,850. Okay? To finish it, and now some of this, you're going to front it and get reimbursed, so you don't need to, you have your $462,000 and you've got to finish your engineering and design. We're at 30%, so we still need 70% of the plans to be completed, and that is somewhere upwards or a little over $300,000. So if this project is awarded, it's about $2.1 million. You need $834,850. If we were to secure a loan for $300,000, that would mean that if TxDOT agreed to match the local participation, which is what the discussions led to, that we're hoping that they will pay our portion of that $462,000, and you pay the difference. Okay. So you're $830,000 until it's laid out. You don't know what the construction costs are going to be, but you're somewhere upwards of $800,000. So we've met with Cadence Bank on Friday and Horizon Bank. Cadence Bank on Thursday and Horizon Bank on Monday. They are determining your credit worthiness. Okay, to determine whether you're that risk they want to take. We won't know until early next week. Going back to Ryan Nelson's, he's spoken with TxDOT, and we'll know possibly next week. I would imagine they're on vacation or holidays. It is summer before they will participate with any part of that 462,000. So, best case, they do. You come up with the 300,000. Worst case is you have to come up with over 800,000. So it is before you. It's just an update. I sent out the draft agenda for next week's meeting. I knew that we were not going to likely take any action this evening. We don't have any information from the two banks or from TxDOT. It is already on your draft agenda for next Thursday's special call meeting. Any questions?
I sat in that same meeting that Mr. De La Rosa is talking about, and I will tell you guys that we don't know what we don't know, but I am far more ambitious leaving that meeting than I were walking in, and I believe that that is okay to say because there were a lot of really intelligent, in the know people sitting at that table, and they were there to help us. That was clear. So we just don't know what we don't know. We need another week or so, and then we'll be able to have some better conversations. But yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to throw that out there.
Okay. Alderman Lassiter?
That was the initial meeting for both banks. That was the initial meeting on this project. Did we provide any financial information to either of them?
Both of them. Yes, sir.
Full financial reports from.
They asked for the audit report, the financials year to date, and some other documents. Yeah, but about 4 sets of documents.
Okay.
Both have the same information.
Have they asked for any projections or anything on our future revenue stream?
No, the only thing we could share was the sales tax information. They've got access to it also, you know, the 81,000 we get. So, look, we're all betting that we're going to continue to have a higher sales tax. Okay?
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but Alderman, I don't speculate because markets turn all the time and we're in government. We're not private corporations. We don't take those kind of chances. But we did share that, and we did share our beverage tax. And if it maintains, that is basically all you're counting on for the next 2 fiscal years, that is what's going to make your interest payments if whatever note you take down, because I assure you, you're not going to be able to make principal payments for 2 fiscal years.
Are you personally committed to trying to make this loan come to fruition?
Alderman, I've been committed since I came, and I've been looking at your numbers since I came. Your numbers were never good on day one, and they haven't improved it ever since then. And I'm still here. I'm very committed.
It's not my question. It's not my question. That wasn't my question.
He answered your question at the end of what he was saying.
I didn't hear it. What did he say? You still are committed?
Yes, sir.
Are you committed to working on this loan and seeing if we can truly make this work?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurst?
No question.
Alderman Dutch?
Just a couple comments and one question. First of all, Mr. Reed, Bobby Whitson, appreciate all the support. You guys are clearly bending over backwards to make this happen for our village, and I thank you for your participation in this. That being stated, when you, Mr. De La Rosa, when you met with the banks, did you offer any collateral? An example is this very building we're in right now to secure the loan.
No, sir.
Is that something we can explore?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would like to do that. Because you're right, they're going to want to look at risks, and I think we need to go back and have some conversations about what other type of collateral we can secure until we get in a better financial situation. Because those roads are in desperate need, and we're going to only pay more as constituents and taxpayers one way or the other. So talk about return on ROI, that is a huge one. So I think we do need to investigate all those options.
Alderman McDonald?
Mr. Del Rosa, thank you for your answers so far. And I understand what you're doing, and with respect to everybody who serves this board, on this board, I'm saying this in a manner that is respectful. At the end of the day, you're only going to recommend what is in the best interest of the village. The board makes the final decision regarding. Am I saying that correctly?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, so regardless of you having a personal opinion or not, we don't need to know that. We just need to know that you're going to provide us the data that we need. Am I saying that properly?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I believe in that. Though I do respect the point of view of every member on this board, what I do know is this. My concern, based on this potential looming debt, and with respect to leveraging public property buildings, I do have concerns, to say the same, with respect, that though I do agree that we do need to do road repairs, my concern is we cannot run a government from the street. My concern. That is a worrisome thing, because at the end of the day, if we put this community in additional financial stress, and with respect to this community, my concern is that if we follow a path of a maybe, and we put a risk out there, the community has already made a decision this past May on what they will or not support in a tax rate. And these things do stick. So whatever we agree to do today, we will pay for tomorrow and the next day and next day. So my concern to you, and with the, for being heard from the board's point of view and the community that's here, is that I am at the point where I am concerned that if we are going to have the solvency long term to be able to maintain such a debt, even if it's just paying the interest for years on end until we can get to a maybe solvency. So I'm saying that to you out loud, and I know you're going to do the right thing, but I'm making that statement from this dais today. So thank you. That's all I got, Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Any public comments on this agenda item?
Tim Fleischer, 912 Cedar Park Circle. I think trying to fund projects like this out of a maintenance and operation budget will completely break the city. I think what you need to do is to look at a road infrastructure bond. I think you guys got your throats cut on the budget last year because you took so much money out of doing anything for road and infrastructure. I think if you put together a bond package that pays for the major programs that you were looking at, West Village Road, Royal Street, and 2 or 3 other projects, and come to the city and say, we need 10 cents paid out over 30 years to pay for these major thoroughfares that no matter what, even if we don't do it, they're going to have thousands of more vehicles on them. But do it through a bond package. You have until August 16th to call for a November bond election. You have until sometime in February to call for a May bond election. I don't think any of the programs that you're talking about you'll have to fund until after May. I completely have faith in this community that if you tell us what you need, we'll do it. Anyone who's been on Royal Street, anyone who's been on West Village Road, anyone who's been on any of the other thoroughfares that are falling apart understand what needs to happen, and you can't do it from sales tax. You can't do it from the piddly amount of maintenance and operation tax, which the voters saddled you with. The only way to do it, in my opinion, is through a 30-year road bond, because 30 years is the lifetime of a road. So for the village matching part on West Village Road, for the village matching part on Royal Street, for some other thoroughfares that need major work, and I think you're looking at that maybe in your next agenda item, but put together a bond package for roads that benefit us all, because I think that's the only way you're going to be able to pay for it.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
There's a lot here we can talk about. We don't need to be here all night, so I'll make this quick. But I do think some of the, based on the conversation that we had, some of the cost, the 800,000 I think you're at now, is there's a little misunderstanding there still. The matching fund, the 20% match, is all that the village has acquired under this particular project for Roy. That 20% match, and I believe the difference in that 460,000 to 800, I think you're getting it, Mr. De La Rosa, from the fact that there is likely going to be some cost overrun of the 2.1 million that's currently budgeted for that project, might be closer to 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, and you're probably right about that. But K-Tempo has additional funding for cost overruns. You're only required to make the 20% match. So if that needs to be amended to 2.6 million instead of 2.1 million, now you're only obligated to the 20% match of the 2.6 million. K-Tempo can extend the 2.1 to 2.6. We have a little bit of wiggle room in that because costs change all the time. Sometimes they go down. We say not lately, but there have been times where they've gone down a little bit. So I just want you to focus on that 20% match. So $2.6 million, if my math is right, you're looking at 2.6, 10% of that's going to be $520,000. Yeah, so about $520,000, not $800,000. If that goes to 2.6, you won't know that price until you actually get the engineering done and get the construction plans bid out. It could come in at 2.4 at that point in time, and your match could be a little less than what you're anticipating. It could come in at 3 million, and you might have to consider additional. But the engineers are usually pretty close based on projects they've done recently to get to that, so there shouldn't be that much variance at that point in time. We talked about a bond package potentially. Unfortunately, and I've not talked to bond counsel. I do believe Mr. De La Rosa has. I don't believe Salado is in a financial position to get a bond at this point in time because of the constraints on the financials. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was an option we talked about, but it was kind of a moot point because we didn't think we could qualify for a bond at this point in time. If that changes because of amended budgets and you've figured some things out and you've cut some costs and you have a little bit of money for debt service, that potentially could change in the future before this project takes over, and that might be an option later, but I don't believe it is now. But otherwise, very good points. And the main point I want to bring out of that is one of the reasons that I believe from hearing people that I talk to in Salado all the time is the fact that they've not had a lot of confidence in the alderman in the recent past years. For whatever reason, and there's a bunch of them. And to Tim's point, there's not a lot, because of that confidence, they're not willing to write you a check at this point in time. But if they knew these projects were getting done and they saw progress and they knew they were necessary, needed projects to get done, I think that could change. And at least when you do this budget now, if those are delineated and we've got work on and we've got paper shovel-ready projects to go, and this is what it's going to cost, this budget even, you might be able to bump 2-3 cents on your tax rate, and people would be fine with that because that's more reasonable than a 10-cent increase or 25% increase, however you look at those numbers. And you might get by with that if they know you've got a good plan and you're working toward it and you are getting Royal done. So I think that changes a lot in the village too. So I just want you guys to consider that as well. The packaging of this matters. The way the village looks at what y'all are doing today versus what was done in the past matters. And you, so far, in recent history, seem to be trying to figure things out. But trying to hit a home run and get 10 cents all in one swoop, obviously that didn't work. Didn't matter. I know that then, but you know that now. But to get another couple of cents and roughly on $500,000, again, if my math is right, that's about $35,000 a year at a 7% rate. That's your interest expense. 1 penny gets you, if I remember correctly, about $28,000.
38.
Okay, 38. That's even better. So 1 penny can service that debt. You're not talking about a big jump here. So please consider that and understand that. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Mr. Del Rosa, I guess what's your recommendation? We're gonna not take any action on this right now. We really don't have any.
Yeah, we don't have anything
funding secured at this point. Okay. We're okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to, so no action on item C.
That's correct.
All right, moving on to item D, discussion of possible action on formation of a road project oversight committee. Mr. Del Rosa.
This is Alderman Dunch's items, 6D.
Yeah, so the reason I put this on the agenda, I was extremely encouraged by the cooperation which we were just talking about from the COG and the county commissioner. That being stated, I feel like the communication and making sure the importance of the timing of this, getting the right people in the room, having those discussions, and we certainly don't want to make sure we're following the guidance of quorums and things like that. But my recommendation is we got an amazing expertise on this board, people with development, people with construction, people with a lot of good knowledge, and having at least 2 of the aldermen partaking in all the meetings and adding additional insight, I think would be extremely beneficial at this critical time. Timing is of the essence on these grants, and that's why I put this on the agenda to be considered, to have a vote, to have, two of the well-qualified aldermen here to partake in making sure we're making very sound decisions for our constituents.
And what would this committee consist of? 2 aldermen and?
Well, from my understanding, given we're, I believe, a Class A, or I looked up Class B, we can have 2 aldermen included without needing a quorum showing up, so that would allow better communications. They would be at the meetings, they would go to the bank meetings that occurred this last week, because I think several of them might have better insight on financials, things like that to bring to the table. And the aldermen that are not on that committee will be informed, but they know they shouldn't be showing up because they're not one of those committee members.
Okay. Alderman Sandor, you have any questions?
Can you come back to me?
Sure, please. Alderman Lassiter? Mayor Pro Tem Hurst?
No, I mean, I like the idea of the committees, but I think we're jumping ahead of the ball. So we actually know if we're going to get some of these fundings done. I think it's going to be a waste of some of our time, or everybody's time, really. Because we're going to meet here and be able to say nothing until we find out, if we get funded or not. I mean, we could table this, both of them, until our next special meeting. Hopefully we'll have some answers by then. But if not, I think it's just going to waste everybody's time.
Okay. Alderman McDonald?
With respect to Alderman Dunch, I concur with Mayor Pro Tem on that as well. My concern is to have a meeting based without the knowledge that we're going to have, based on what Mr. Del Rosa is going to be researching, but based on the bank giving us information, based on the other things that Commissioner Woodson has stated to us today publicly. My concern is if we're going to get ahead of putting the cart before the horse.
Any, Alderman, Mr. Laster? Okay. Any public comments on this? No? All right, then I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, make a motion that we table items 6D and E until we get further positive information or negative, either way, from the administration on which way we're going to go with this plan as far as funding is concerned to make a decision.
You said D and E?
D.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to table item D pending further discussion and maybe in the next week's meeting. Great. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. Any further discussion?
Yes. So I understand what you're saying, but I also know there are, like, we had meetings with the bank and we didn't even explore options of looking at leveraging collateral for securing loans and things like that. I firmly believe that there would have been other expertise in that room, that those discussions would have already occurred. I also firmly believe that this is a very time-sensitive grant and that we're going to losing our window of opportunity. So I understand what you're saying. I appreciate your inputs, but I just feel like that we are under a time crunch here and we need all hands on deck.
Okay.
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of tabling item D and pushing it to, I guess, maybe possibly next week's meeting, specify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no.
No.
Any abstentions? Okay, that carries 3-2. Mr. De La Rosa. Item E, discussion and possible action on establishment of weekly road project workshops. Is that?
Yes, it was. So this is the one that, yes, I think having the two designated aldermen, they kind of go sequential. And then with the workshops that we're having, we could have additional dialogue, time crunch. We meet twice a month here, but I think the off week, just keep the momentum behind this. We should have ongoing conversations of figuring out how we best move this forward in the time crunch that we're in. And the only way we do that is to keep the dialogue of communication open. I also firmly believe this will give opportunity for, in the beginning of those workshops, constituents and citizens to come talk in the beginning of that and put their input as well. And I think it's very important that our voters hear this. It'll be recorded. They will understand at the end if we don't get this grant and we missed it, that we have exhausted all efforts, and they will understand it and they can go back and review it at a later date. Because at some point, guys, we're all going to need four-wheel drive to get home.
Mr. Del Rosa, in order to, with the workshops, in order to do that, that requires a special called Board of Aldermen meeting, correct?
That's correct.
And we'd have to have how many members of the board present for that in order to proceed with that?
For a special call for aldermen.
Okay. Alderman Sandor, any questions for Mr. Dunch?
I do. You're proposing doing a workshop specific to roads only every week, right?
Every week or every other week when we're not in here, because that'll give us an opportunity to keep the momentum going, yes. Because we gained a lot just in the last 2 weeks, where the last Alderman meeting, we waited till the 26th, 27th before we had more discussions. That was like a whole month. We don't have that much time here.
Do you have a value in learning whether or not the bank is going to participate with us before we get too deep in? I like your idea, just for the record. I like both of them.
I would like to go back. I've already requested that we go back to the banks offering collateral. That's part of the workshop, have those discussions, we talked about a bond. I believe I would also question whether we still can't get a bond. I'd like to see that documented that we actually can't. If we can't, then short term, I think we should use this as collateral. I'm agreeing with Tim Fleischer in the fact that I think we could eventually get the bond because people literally are going to need four-wheel drive to get home. So we have return on investment, return on RI that we talked about. We are about to lose 7.5 around that million.
You do realize that I've been advocating for both of these projects, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to keep it. No, I know you have.
I don't want anybody to think like.
No. I know.
I'm not sure how hard he's working on it, but I know how hard I am, and I believe he's working hard on it also, just for the record. Okay. Well, I mean, I love your ideas. I think we could be maybe a week tonight too early to make a firm decision on that, and here's why, for the record. So I'm nervous that if we made a decision tonight to do these things, even though I like your ideas, I think we could be reaching out to people to try to put, these committees together, and then if we don't, and I hope we do, and I'm ambitious that we will, but if we don't get what we need from the bank for us to move forward, we might have kind of yanked a lot of chains a little bit prematurely. That's my only argument, this whole thing right now tonight, just tonight. If we were having this discussion next Thursday with the chance that was already announced that we might have some answers from TxDOT and from the lending institution, like for me, I kind of wish we'd talk to one more lending institution. But to your point about putting, for example, this building up as collateral, if they don't ask for more than what we've already presented them, then why would we do that now? Why would we want to just walk in there in meeting one and say, we'll give you our building if you'll give us this money?
I'm not saying you would, but if they come in to deny it, we're running.
I thought you asked him to do that.
Well, yes, I asked if was that a consideration or was that in the discussion. So okay. I don't. If what is presented is just the current financials, I mean, based off what I know banking, they're going to have. I'm pretty sure it's going to get denied. So without, I could be wrong, but you never know.
I understand, yeah.
But there's the doom and gloom that we are presenting is with, and we're not showing them the extra sales. They're going to be looking for collateral. It's only logical. And that bond, I think if we get the bond, which I know these are all speculative. This is why I want the workshop. I want to have these discussions. I want us to be able to start a workshop to have these discussions so we can, if we're looking, okay, this is planned, this is a bridge to get us there. I don't want to put this up for collateral, but if we get the bond within May or whenever it comes around an election, some point, or even a year from now, then we pay the collateral back on the loan and we have a bond that supports it. It's basically a bridge loan.
I think where we sit today financially and given our recent track record of finances in the village, any kind of bond conversation is, in my opinion, a little bit wishful thinking right now.
That is what has been told. I don't know. We never went to the bank until recently to even ask for a loan. We gave away a sidewalk that was going to be $100,000 that I'm pretty sure a loan would have, if we had a line of credit against this building, which I think we should have a line of credit against this building already established, which we don't, that we could have used that, and we could have had a sidewalk on Mill Creek Drive right now. Otherwise, guys, why are we here? Because we're going to sit here as dead sitting ducks doing nothing for the next 2 years. That is not why I ran for this office.
Yeah, I have better things to do than that also, Alderman. Okay, that's all of my questions.
Alderman Lassiter.
Y'all hear that?
Did you turn your microphone on?
I appreciate what you said, Neil, and I agree with you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hurst.
No, I mean, I agree with both committees. I just think we're getting the cart before the horse.
Alderman McDonald.
I concur again with pausing on this decision until we get more information back from the administration based on the banks and so forth. And I do have concerns about putting a building that people own up as collateral. And I'm just guessing that my we might need a legal review before we can consider doing that profession. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. That was my next point too. That Ms. Del Rosa, what are the? And I'm not disagreeing with anything that's been said up here. To put this building up as collateral, we don't own this building. This building's owned by the taxpayers.
That's correct.
So I don't know what the legal ramifications of that would be.
Alderman McDonald's correct. You would have to get a legal opinion from your city attorney. You would have to also have a discussion with our financial advisor and our bond counsel. Okay? You're borrowing money from a bank. It's like the lease purchase vehicles that you did. Technically, you're supposed to let your financial advisors know that you've done that. Okay? That's why you don't have any bond credit, any credit rating or any bond rating. Okay? So, but certainly you're putting a public asset, it's gonna get a lot of scrutiny.
Okay. Any public comments on this?
I think there is, Tim Fleischer, 912 Cedar Park Circle. I think there's some confusion about financing. I do not think that you can qualify for certificates of obligation, which are similar to bonds in that they're long-term, but you don't have it within your tax rate currently to reduce the debt on a certificate of obligation. A bond is approved by the voters. So they can issue any amount of debt that they approve. Whether it's $10 or $10 million, the voters get to choose on a bond. How someone is telling you that you don't have a bond rating when you have paid every payment for 10 years on a current bond, I don't know where you're getting that. I don't know how you are not having a bond rating. You've never missed a payment on the bond that you've paid for the sewer for the past 10 years, which my taxes have supported. So, you can put the issue before the voters. They can make the decision whether they want to fund the roads or not. It's really, in my opinion, a very simple choice. And I think if you inform the voters, they're going to make the right decision. Every time I've lived in this town for 38 years, every time the voters have known, they've made the right decision, except one or two. But I think it was because they didn't know, and they were overwhelmed by the noisy voices. If there is a concerted effort to do a bond package, to do infrastructure in this community for the roads that we all ride on, I travel down Royal every day. I'm on West Village more times than I can count. I'm on Chisholm Trail. I'm on Smith Branch, which needs to be resurfaced. There are other roads that can be put into a package that during the lifetime of those roads, we pay off the debt. You can't do it with a certificate of obligation because you don't have any wiggle room at all in your current tax rate. Certificates of obligation are similar to bonds, but it's because you have a little bit of room in your current tax rate that you can retire with. That's how the county commissioners paid for the new jail after the voters rejected paying for that twice because they had the financial capability of doing it. You don't have it. But if the voters approve an increase in their tax rate to pay for infrastructure, then you've got the money. And you'll have it long term, and it'll be a lot less percentage-wise than getting a commercial loan. like probably 4 to 5 points less, I would say, than getting a commercial loan. And you won't have to put anything up for collateral.
Linda Reynolds, 1110 Mill Creek Drive. I live in a very small village, but it has 4 banks now. And I'm thinking, somebody must think there's money here if we've got 4 banks. I always wish for municipal bonds. I would have loved to invest in this village if I could have bought municipal bonds, which are tax-free. And I really appreciate that, knowing that I'm at the age where my IRA has to come out so the government gets my taxes before I die. I don't really want to take my money out of my IRA, but I have to. We've got 4 banks. I think we should trust banks. Mr. Alderman Dunge's point is this is a time specific. I don't think there's time for committees. I've been on many of them, and trust me, I've been on a road committee actually here when the only thing that really got done was Mr. McDougal's driveway there, I think. And we redid that road behind Brookshire's over and over again. Committees are not the most efficient way, but that's up to you guys whether you do that or not. We've got banks. I trust the banks. If the banks want to loan us money to take care of Royal Street and save us from losing all that funding, great. I don't want a bond on that because I don't want to pay for the whole road myself out of my taxes. I want the state and the federal government to help us pay for these roads. So, and they're offering money. I don't know if we've still got a federal grant on West Village Road. But we've got 4 banks in town. If the banks loan us money and you guys screw up and it fail, we fail paying them back, guess what? They get this building. They get the police department. They get the sewer plant. Let them have it, you know. We'll fold up and we'll ask Commissioner Whitson to take care of us at this point. So we've got banks here, and if they don't want to support us, maybe some of us should take our money out of those banks and go to Temple. We'll see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Reed, 2719 Royal Street, Director of the COG, and since the COG has been mentioned, first of all, let me apologize. I didn't know I was going to make public comments, so I don't mean to be dressed like I'm going to a luau, but maybe we'll lighten up the tone. I want to be clear with the alderman that we're not in the meeting. We're not asking you to do anything that is not in your best interest. What we're asking you is to have thoughtful conversation about what might be possible. And I'm a bit confused. To me, it sounds like the recommendation is to have good conversations and to involve 2 aldermen with the city manager, who has said he's already strapped for a lack of staff, to give him some assistance in unwinding this ball of yarn that you all have inherited. And I don't know where that's a bad thing. I will tell you the COG participates in road committees in, haven't counted them up lately, but probably 15 cities. And usually 1 or 2 city council members are on those committees so that they can give guidance and assistance to their professional hired help. So it sounds like you think this recommendation is only for these 2 projects. What I think I hear Alderman Bunch saying is it's about all the road projects. Let's start having a broader conversation so that you can build trust with the community again, that you're actively engaged in assisting your village administrator in trying to determine a path forward for your village. So you're going to do what's right for your village, but I just wanted to make certain you knew that this is common practice. This is something that is done in counties and cities. We have a regional rural transportation advisory committee. We have 4 different advisory committees on roads. We'd be glad to resource you in any way we can. But at the end of the day, we want you to do what's best for your citizens. So appreciated the time in our office the other day. Thank you.
Any more public comments? No? Okay.
Mayor, if I may add, there's 3 credit rating agencies. There's Moody's, Fitch Ratings, and S&P Global, Standard & Poor's. I've dealt with S&P, I've dealt with Moody's. I wouldn't go by a single leader. I wouldn't have a discussion with one of those 3. I dealt with 2. I dealt with the city manager, the finance director, and they look at your long-term strategic plan, they look at your finances, they look at, so you do get a bond rating. And there's not a single leader that they don't have a discussion to make sure you're on track, that your audits are complete. So I have not seen any of those documents in your records. And you know, I know your financial advisor. I actually worked with her back in 2011. So long established on exactly how those bond ratings work.
Okay. I think it's important to add, even if we're going to table these committees or these meetings or whatever, we're the governing body. We don't need anybody's permission to attend any meetings. We want to go to the meeting, we go to the meeting, and we can do it that way. So, one, Mr. De La Rosa, I'm going to give direction, talk to our bond counsel, talk to our financial advisor, and exhaust all possibilities as far as that bond situation goes and whatever we got to do for the banks and that kind of thing. And let's keep that momentum going. But again, if people want to be involved in these meetings, that's a notification by you to the members of the board, and if they want to attend, they can. You don't need to put together a focus group for that. They're welcome to attend in accordance with state law as far as the quorums and things of that nature. So any further questions about any of this? No? I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, I motion that we table 6E until next week's meeting.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to table item 6E until the next week's special Board of Aldermen meeting.
Yeah.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of tabling item E until next week's special call Board of Aldermen meeting, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Any abstentions? That carries 3-2. Item F, discussion and possible action nominating and appointing individuals to the Planning and Zoning Commission. One, Linda Reynolds, term June 1, 2025 to May 31, 2026, and John Price, June 1, 2025 to May 31, 2026. But I guess those dates actually would change because we're past June. Mr. De La Rosa?
Ms. Pence is going to take this, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Alderman, included in your packet are the applications for the 2 individuals interested in serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I have spoken with both the candidates, and I am pleased to report that they are residents in the village, because we did receive a lot of applicants, but there was very few that actually lived within the village limits. And I do believe that they're going to bring valuable experience to the committee involved in this role, which is important. Their interest comes at an important time, as we all know, as the commission continues to play a vital role in shaping the village for the future. As noted in the application, both have previously served on various boards and committees, demonstrating a strong commitment to public service. The applicants meet the requirements outlined in Ordinance 2013-08, Section 2.2B1, which states the members of the commission must reside within the village limits. Again, Mr. Pride and Ms. Reynolds are both present this evening if you have any additional questions for the applicants.
Good. Thank you. Alderman Sandor?
I have none.
Alderman Lassiter?
Yes, I have some questions. Are we recommending, is she recommending these 2 people for the positions, or what are we doing?
She's, I think that...
Mayor, she's not recommending.
She's not recommending it, no.
All we do is
up to
we're
us.
presenting applicants.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
Okay. Ms. Pence, Have there been, you mentioned there were other applicants, inferred, I guess, that there were other applicants inside the city?
No.
The only 2 applicants you have that were within the city?
That met the requirements that are within the village limits, yes, sir.
Okay. And how many, just curious, people did submit applications?
We had 5 total.
5 total?
Mm-hmm. And then we had 2 others that actually reached out, but they were in the ETJ
Okay.
and they did not qualify either.
How did we, how'd we advertise that? Was it just solely in the Village of Salado website, or was it?
Yes, we had it on our website, our social media page, and then we, of course, asked for all of leadership to share and the other committees.
I knew of one other person, but I haven't spoken with them that intended to file an application. That's why I was asking. And I do know that they live in the city. So I've had no further communication with them. We did not advertise that at all in the Village Voice?
No, sir.
Okay. My only comment about the presenting of these 2 people is I think it's great to have people interested in serving on that committee. I do think it's very, very important to this community. I do think it would be very beneficial to have an opportunity to speak with them. Not sure tonight's the right night. Doesn't necessarily have to be a posted alderman meeting. It could just be one-on-one or 2 aldermen at a time. It can't be 3, obviously, but I would like to be able to spend some time with them and ask questions about just their ideas and thoughts about Salado and where they're going before we are presented with a motion to vote. Those are my comments.
Great.
Thank you, Gina.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurst.
No question.
Alderman Dunn.
Just comment, Linda and John, thank you for stepping up and putting your name in the hat. That means a lot. And Gina, one question for you. How many openings do we have here total? Are we trying to fill?
So we could actually fill 3.
3, okay.
But we need at least 1 to have a quorum for the P&Z Commission to begin their meetings again.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman McDonald.
I'd like to say thank you for you both for applying. Very admirable to step up to the plate and do a job that no money, but you have a heart to do it. I read both of your applications, so I want to say, other than the extra security we're going to provide to you, ma'am, for the comments about your sister, I do truly appreciate all the things that you're wanting to do for this village. Thank you as well, no matter what. No further comments, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have a question. When do we need to satisfy this obligation? I don't know if I've read or heard that anywhere. When does this need to be done by? When do we need to have, is there a cutoff for when applicants can?
There is not. We've left it open. Of course, like I mentioned, we could actually fill another spot, and there's nothing wrong with continually taking application in case we do have turnover in the future. But we are not doing any business for the village right now. We do have some applications that are going to be coming up for variances and cups that are going to need to be presented to P&Z before they can be presented to the BOA. We have not had a meeting since before the election. So.
The cup is a conditional use permit.
I apologize, yes.
Somebody's wanting to build an accessory building, somebody's wanting to build a carport in front of a building line, and those need to be taken to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we are not able to have a meeting with one person shot. Now, the 2 people that are being recommended, there is a recommended term, and we have 2 current members that are still there, but they're about termed out, if I recall. If not, they're pretty close to the two terms.
So you need 3 people to
3 out of 5 to meet, yes, sir.
So you need 5 people for a P&Z per typical.
Yes, sir.
I'm confused. Did you say that we needed 3 people?
3 for quorum. For the quorum.
That's not what she said, but that's what I understood. Thank you.
That's okay. So if we get 5, we could take up to 5 folks, is what you're saying?
Correct.
So
have five seats.
if we had another 3 candidates to come forward, that would be most ideal, assuming they're qualified.
Minimum.
Minimum, yes. Okay.
And
And an alternate too.
Yeah,
Right.
would be ideal, actually. The 5 that, or a total of 5 that Alderman Dunst mentioned, and then an alternate would be good as well. So, but there's no timeline on when people, I mean, how do we create urgency with the public for anybody who might be interested? You mentioned that you talked to someone who expressed interest, but you're not hearing them being mentioned tonight. Maybe it's because they just know that they'll get around to it when they get around to it. Like, I just wonder if we need to put a timeline on that. Can we do that? Is that reasonable to think that way?
If I may say, and on the original posting, I did give a timeline, and we did not get any applications. Before then, so I did not put a timeline on it again, but I'm happy to do so if that's what you feel that we need to do moving forward. I'm thrilled that we have 2 applicants.
Yeah, I am also. I wonder if we should, as a board, give consideration to when we should, you know, I mean, if we can't just put it on social media and on the website and get what we need, then that's going to mean that we have to talk to more people. I'm talking to several people right now. A couple of people would have been great, I think, in my opinion, but they don't live in the village, and I didn't know that that was a thing for P&Z, so that was a learning lesson. And then I've got some other people I'm talking to that I also think would be pretty good, and they do live in the village. They also asked me, when do I need to do this by, and I was unable to answer that. So I feel like it's going to be hard to get business done. The CUP?
Conditional use permit.
Yeah.
The acronym is CUP, yes.
Okay, so, you know, without a P&Z, like you before mentioned. I don't know, I mean, I don't know how to walk away from this conversation just being really grateful, which I think everyone is, for the 2 applicants we have. And we've all read their applications. They're clearly qualified, but they don't have what we need to do business.
If you do, if you get those 2, we already have 2, that would give us 4.
What about the comment, well, when do the other 2 term out?
They continue, I think they're close to term out. They aren't already, they continue to serve until the replacements are named.
Understood, okay. Okay, thank you.
But they can do 2 consecutive.
In accordance with the ordinance, the state law allows you to stay over. It's a hangover provision.
And so Ms. Turnbow's only been on there for right at 2 years, right? You've only been on that commission for only 2 years? Right, okay. I think Mr. Schwentz also, he was appointed the same evening that Ms. Turnbow was.
I don't think he was ever appointed.
As an alternate, is what I mean.
Yes, he's an alternate. Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Go ahead.
Alderman Sandor, to touch on the base of, is it a priority to get it done now versus later in the answer to the issuance of urgency. As Ms. Pence said, and as we've all generally paid attention to, we've put a finish line on it to get applicants, kind of a conversation for qualified members of our community within the village. And then we reopened it up based on the conversation to just shotgun blast, no finish line, just if you want to apply, apply. What I'm making the statement is this: regardless of who applies, if they're fully qualified otherwise and there's nothing that precludes them, and they have a concerted effort of interest to serve this community in this capacity, I would say look at their applications favorably based on the fact that they're here, they attended the meeting. I can speak definitely for one applicant that they are here for most alderman meetings as it stands as we are today, okay? So what I'm making the generalized statement is, I understand your point of view, and is it an urgent moment to appoint them right now? I would say, in my opinion, in general terms, positive consideration should be looked at the fact that they're sitting here right now. They made the application. They're fully otherwise qualified. And we have had their packets, at least their knowledge of their packets in our hands since we received the agenda packet And I know that if I needed to reach out to any of these two individuals, I could have set up a meeting to meet with them individually if I needed to have a question answered about their character, their candor, integrity, and their purpose. But I know these individuals professionally speaking. And so I am making the generalized statement of it is incumbent upon us to also equally reach out to these candidates who want to serve our community in that capacity as well. Just as much as members of our community may have wanted to reach out to us when we were running for our positions that we currently have. So I just wanted to say that out loud, not as an attack on your point of view. It's not that at all. It's all with respect. But what it is a simple point of view. They're here. They're fully qualified otherwise. And we as board members have an incumbent responsibility to reach out to people who apply that we have questions about too. That's where I'm at. So thank you for allowing me to speak about that.
Is there anything that needs to be resolved by Planning Commission prior to the meeting next week, the 10th?
We have been putting notice of cancellation due to no quorum. And I have 2 projects that will need to do a submittal for public notice, which, as most of you know, that's a 14-day process. So I need a quorum before I can do those publications.
And the question was, is there anything pressing really to have it pushed back to next week's meeting and deal with it then and give members of the board here an opportunity to visit if they wish with these people, and if they don't, have it there and take care of it then?
That would be, of course, up to the Board of Aldermen. You would
Correct.
just be pushing it back for another week.
Yeah. Well, there hadn't been a lot of urgency in filling those positions for the last 9 months. And 6 months or 5 months when the other left, and 3 months ago when the other left. So in fairness, I wish we would have dealt with this a long time ago. It would have been very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I have a comment to Mr. Alderman Lassiter's statement. I'm just grateful that there's 2 people here that want to do it and that someone is working on it. I think we should be forward thinking, and we should maybe spend a little less time. Just my opinion. I don't know a lot, but I think we should be forward thinking on all of our business the best way that we can. And I think there's a bunch of smart people sitting up here that'll be good at that. You've got 2 qualified people sitting here right now, so just my opinion.
Yeah, I know that's only your opinion. I agree they're qualified. Nothing wrong with what you said. I don't have any problem with what you said. Thank you. But I do think forward, and I am thinking forward about where we're going. So if the issue was, here they are, you present them and let's do it tonight, unless there's some specific urgency, I think a week's worth of time is not a big deal. And I think it would be prudent, at least for me it would be, so that I could visit with Mr. Price and the other person too. And I think forward.
Oh, I wasn't accusing you of that.
I think you were, but it's okay.
Okay, let's stay on point here. All right, where are we at? Any further questions here?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chance. Any public comments on this? Come on up, Mr. Price.
Mayor, Alderman.
Evening, sir.
My name is John Price. I live at 918 North Ridge Road in Mill Creek. I appreciate the fact that all the aldermen seem to acknowledge the need for the existence of this particular commission. And I understand you guys are dealing with a lot of problems. One of the things you don't have is a lot of time. Okay? The name of this commission is Planning and Zoning. Road Oversight Committee, perfect fit. We need a major infrastructure plan. What kind of roads are we going to have? Who's going to be using them? Ask the first question whenever a project comes up. Who benefits? That's what you do before you start trying to figure out who's going to pay for it. Having said all that, This is the second time in 2 months I've been on the agenda. It's the second time in 2 months I've been here too late to get a pizza on the way home, and I haven't had supper. So I would encourage you, if you have any questions about my qualifications or what I think about the future of Salado, I am perfectly willing to answer them anytime, any place. You want to set at the meeting, I will be there. But please, let's get this show on the road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Okay, I want to open the floor for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve Ms. Reynolds and Mr. Price for their terms stated in item 6F.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to appoint Ms. Reynolds and Mr. Price as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Alderman Dunch. Any further discussion? Question called by Mayor Pro Tem Hurst. All in favor of appointing Ms. Linda Reynolds and John Price to a term to end May 31, 2026 on the Planning and Zoning Commission, specify by saying yes?
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. I do wish everyone a happy July 4th, and please remember who stood up and why we're able to do the things that we're able to do today. So keep the servicemen and women in mind tomorrow, and everyone have a great 4th and be safe. Thank you. We are adjourned, 8:41.